Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Mukarram Mawjood. Mukarram Mawjood is the Chief Investment Officer at Bullionite Asset Group. Mukarram has lived and was educated in three diverse and major global financial regions, such as Asia, the Middle East, and the United States. He holds over 15 years of direct experience trading global markets, equities, commodities, and cryptocurrency through both historic bull and bear markets. This is especially important now when understanding the evolving needs of a global financial post-COVID world. He continues to trade the global markets and educate his followers from his offices in Orange County, California. Well, good afternoon, Mukarram. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, my friend. I appreciate you hailing out of Orange County, California, my old stomping grounds, believe it or not. That's an awesome place. So I just appreciate you making the time, me being in Kansas City and always traversing these time zones. But Mukarram, if I could, I'm going to jump into your first question. You've lived and been educated in Asia, the Middle East, and the U.S. How have those diverse financial ecosystems shaped your global investment philosophy?
I think it's a few different things, right? One is having the cultural sensitivity to the different investment needs that people have, right? Even though most of our clients are from the US, I travel a lot from business. We do a lot of different projects outside the country as well. There, I think that really helps understanding that cultural sensitivity. And then having that awareness allows us to bridge the two countries, right? That was one of my biggest things when I was in college. I always wanted to bridge the US with these certain entities. I had these triangles in my head right, all the time. And I was like, hey, I'd like to bridge these countries together. And that helps us get progress because there are certain countries where some companies get stuck in getting some things done. But because we understand the culture or we understand how they work and their sensitivities, allows us to be successful in our projects there, especially with real estate and international real estate and things like that. The other thing, Brian, that I think that really, really helps us is just knowing how certain major fundamental effects can have ripple effects, right, across the pond, or it may start off all the way in Australia or in Indonesia, like, for example, the Malaysia-Indonesia currency crisis that happened in the late 90s and how that reverberated across the pond and came over here. And that allows us to hedge and manage risk properly because we don't create stories in our head just by listening to the news or anything like that, but we've experienced kind of how that spreads and how we can manage that for our clients. And I think that gives our clients a massive, massive edge.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Absolutely. I think your diverse background and having that cultural sensitivity really helps you understand people's needs. And having that sensitivity, as you mentioned, helps bridge that gap between countries, cultures, etc. What I really also liked is knowing really, that foresight, knowing the fundamental differences around the globe and how to better manage risk and not just get excited about hyperbole sometimes. People get excited about different things. Yeah, so I appreciate that. Mukarram, my next question for you, let's talk about Bullionite Asset Group. It trades across equities, commodities, and crypto. What do you see as the most misunderstood risk or opportunity among these asset classes today?
Yeah, great question. First, what I'd like to do is let the audience know that, or the listeners know that Bullionite Asset Group is the new name for our company, Blackstone Commodity Group, right? Blackstone Commodity Group has been in business for a significant period of time, like almost 15 years plus. We've now changed the name to Bullionite Asset Group, kind of having a group together because my educational branch of the company has been called Bullionite, and we've been doing that since 2014, 15. And I felt like it was time to make sure that the alternative asset branch reflects that uniformity, right? So that's why we have Bullionite Asset Group, which is the alternative asset firm where we do physical precious metals, cryptocurrency, IRA, self-directed IRAs, all that. And then Bullionite, where we do the trading education, the coaching, the mindset training, right? To become successful traders. So getting back to your question, I think the most misunderstood to me would be on how people perceive risks, right? Because I think a lot of the times we have been taught that risk means losing money. Okay. It's like you're guaranteed to lose money. If ever you're in a conversation, right, or someone's just talking about risk, already there's a preconceived notion that you're going to lose money. One of the biggest ways that I help clients and that we've had significant returns from the market is turning that around and understanding what risk really is. Risk simply means that there's a possibility that you can lose money and there is a probability that you can make money. Okay. I am choosing those words very carefully because how you increase that probability of making money and reduce the possibility of losing money is risk management. So if you can manage the risk, then you can take massive, gigantic risks without being this individual that can't sleep at night or is completely frazzled, right? So having that emotional intelligence will give you that edge that you need to be consistently successful. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have losing trades. You're not going to have some investments that don't make money, but you want to have that edge where you have more winners than losers.
Thank you. I appreciate you breaking that down for us. And thank you for highlighting the name change to Bullion. I think that's important for our audience to understand. You really highlighted how people perceive risks or they don't perceive risks. You talked about helping your clients understand the meaning of risk versus, the probability and changing that mindset, right? And I know you can train your gut, right? That intuition to be better at trading. People say don't rely on your gut, but I've talked to people in your line of work that say you actually can train it and know what type of risks to take and so forth. So I appreciate you helping our audience understand that. Mukarram, you've placed a strong emphasis on financial literacy for youth. What inspired you to launch the Young Trader of the Year and what impact have you seen so far?
Oh, wow, Brian, that's a very, very passionate project of mine. Okay. And it's always been a goal of mine when it comes to youth literacy with money. I don't mean just letting people know, like, well, when do you start a credit card or when do you start saving money? That's not what I'm into, right? For me, my biggest successes came when I really understood what creating money was about and the principles that go into creating money versus earning money, right? And there's a big difference. And I want everyone to understand that. Like, if you look at money as something that you're going to earn, then you're going to live by a certain set of principles or a certain set of rules. Whereas creating money, which is what investing and trading is completely different to earning money. And you cannot live that same set of rules and then be successful. This is why people go, hey, I've lost money, or kids, they young college could say, hey, I'm broke, or I don't understand it. It's because they bring the rules of earning money to creating money, right? So first of all, the reason I did this was because we as parents, right? I have kids. We as parents, we put so much effort into all of their life, right? We put so much effort into teaching them so many things and send them to classes and these programs. But what we don't put effort in is teaching them about money. And there are some parents and families and groups that actually shy away from talking about money, right? And that's one of the biggest things, because knowing and understanding money will affect all of their decision making. And decision making is the biggest reason that they'll be successful later, right? So this is why in my Young Trader of the Year program, what we do is we work with individuals who are between 16 and 22, because I feel that's the most formative time, right? They'll be just like a junior in high school and a junior in college, and that time in between is where we can teach them about money, that money is not a currency. Time is your currency, not money. So don't let anyone else tell you that you should exchange your time for a very small amount of money, right? And then understanding how to create money and make great decisions based on having that reliance. Because once you understand that, and when you get confident, then your children, our youth, will become confident and they'll become winners because they'll be self-reliant, right? And the reason I say this is you know that there's a generation right now, they've moved in with their parents, right? They don't have their self-reliance that they should have. Also, we have young kids. Like I have a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. And sometimes they say, hey, I don't need to go to college. I can make a few $1 million by being a YouTuber. Great. I love that we have a social economy. I love that we have kids now that can take in millions rather than tens of thousands of dollars, right? But not understanding money and how to manage that and having the knowledge base to create it and keep it is going to ruin their lives if they don't respect education. So that's the approach I'm taking with my Young Trader program.
I really love that. And that's one thing we talk about a lot with people that have come on the podcast is really their purpose. And a lot of times it's giving back. And your passion project that you mentioned is helping mentoring the youth. And I really like hearing you broke it down a little bit, earning money versus creating money. They're two different things. And we need to help the younger generation and kids understand what that means, because knowing and understanding finances will obviously influence our kids' success in the future, as you said. And time, absolutely 100%. That's your currency, not money, but teaching kids to be self-reliant is the big message that I took away. So I appreciate that. Mukarram, last question of the day. With AI tools becoming more prevalent in retail and institutional trading, do you believe technology will level the playing field or further widen the gap between investors?
Well, here's the thing, Brian. Leveling the playing field is a very difficult thing to accomplish just with technology. Okay. And I want to break this down a bit if we take a little longer. Right? And here's why I want to say this. There's always going to be a new technology. Today it's AI. Tomorrow it could be something else. Next year it could be something that's just unimaginable, right? But does that really level the playing field between an institution that has a massive amount of resources versus you? Not really. Here's the difference. Because technology is not the leveler. Okay. What the real leveler is education and effort and resourcefulness. So if you want to level the playing field, whether it is between your friends, in your family, whether it's a small group of people in your city, or whether it's in the world, right? You have to become a more resourceful person. You have to become someone who's extremely emotionally intelligent, because that emotional intelligence and that resourcefulness is what allows you to make these massive gains in your life and then increase your net worth. And I'm not just talking about just money, but also just your entire life purpose, right? Now, here's the interesting thing. Will AI make it more accessible? Will it make it more prevalent, right? Or will someone who wasn't thinking of investing now think it's simpler to do it? Yes, that I agree with. But you cannot take away effort and resourcefulness, right? The other thing that I want to focus on here, and this is how I look at leveling the playing field, because let's say you're going against a behemoth, right? Like a $100 billion hedge fund, or not going against, but meaning they're trading the same instruments that you're trading, but they do have way more resources, right? How do you level the playing field there? By understanding price action, by understanding what price action means in an asset class, and then how you follow it. And here's the best example I'll give, okay? And I hope I can create this vision for individuals who are listening. It's like if you're in Hawaii, and then early morning, like 3:30, 4 a.m., you paddle, you wait in that calm waters, waiting for that massive big wave, right? And when that wave starts coming, that wave is that hedge fund, right? What you do is you get on that wave. That's your job, because you understood that price analysis. After that, you go for the ride, but you get off before that wave crashes, because you can't level the playing field in that wave on a surfboard. But if you put the effort, you're up early, you're resourceful, you follow the price action, then you'll make significant gains. Sometimes percentage-based will amaze you. And that's how you level the playing field here. And this is what I teach in our coaching programs in Bullion Night, in trading. I always say 75% of trading is mental, 25% is skill.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Breaking that down. Obviously, when I asked about leveling the playing field, we did mention that, yeah, AI will certainly help you, but being resourceful, having resources, putting in the effort, you were very clear about that. Technology is really not the leveler. It's the education, the effort, the resourcefulness that a person puts in or a company puts into that as far as effort. And then understanding, there's a lot of things you can understand, but you highlighted some things like understanding price action and other strategies to further, yourself in this line of education. And then you broke down 75% of it's mental, 25% of it's skill. I didn't know that. And I think that's really important. Obviously, you got to be a risk taker in your line of work. And I appreciate everything that you shared with us. Mukarram, it was certainly a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brian. I really enjoyed it. And if anyone wants to kind of find out more information about us, they can go to blackstonecommodity.com. They can visit bullionite.com. And then once the name change is completed, you'll see Blackstone forward to Bullionite. And also you guys can reach me through the phone number and the contact information we give you.
Bye for now.